A thunder of jets in an open sky, a streak of gray, and a cheerful...
A loop, a whirl, and a vertical climb, and once again you'll know it's time for the adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle and friends.
Starring that supersonic speedster, Rocket J. Squirrel, with his pal Bullwinkle the Moose, and a host of others.
Hurry, Bullwinkle! The show's about to start!
I'm coming as fast as I can.
Wave to the people!
Yay!
Now what are you doing?
Signing autographs. Let's see. John Smith.
But your name is Bullwinkle.
I know, but that's hard to spell.
We're gonna have a lot of fun. Come on and join us.
Sure, there's always room for one more.
Well, last time, you remember, we learned the details of the fiendish plot of the mental munching mice to take over the entire USA.
It's easy. We just get rid of television. Then everybody leaves country in disgust. Is our scorched air policy.
We also learned that the big cheese, leader of all the mice, is none other than that scurvy scoundrel, Boris Badenov.
The biggest threat of all.
And what of our heroes?
Yeah, what?
Captured by the mice, they have been turned over to the tender mercies of Herman the Vermin Exterminator.
You gotta think of a way out of this mess, Rocky.
I can't, Bullwinkle. I'm too low in my mind.
Oh, say not so, Rocket. How come?
Well, just look at these pictures the big cheese gave us. His plan is working. People are leaving the country in droves.
Some of them in trains, too.
Oh, Bullwinkle, look there in the courtyard.
Why, it's that giant mousetrap we built.
Yeah, and I got a hunch it's going to be used pretty soon.
Well, you know the old saying, build a better mousetrap. And you are liable to wind up in it.
Funny thing about these pictures, Rock.
What's that, Bullwinkle?
I can't read the names on any of them.
Bullwinkle, you're right. That's not even English.
Well, that's good. I thought my eye pans were going back on me.
Those pictures weren't taken in America. People aren't leaving the country.
Nobody but us, huh?
We gotta figure a way out of this, Bullwinkle.
Like I said some time back. But how?
And indeed, it seemed difficult, for at that moment, Herman the Vermin Exterminator lumbered forward to spring the trap.
Well, goodbye, old pal. We've sure had some swell adventures together.
Yeah. I wonder how this one'll come out after we're gone.
But amazingly enough, just as Herman reached forward, he slowed and stopped.
Bullwinkle, he's run down.
In a twinkling, the boys had freed themselves from their bonds.
Now, let's get out of here.
But though our boys didn't know it, they were under observation from a high window by the big cheese himself, Boris Badenov.
Quick, Natasha, they're loose.
What happened to Herman, darling?
You didn't wind him tight enough, honey bun. Quick, we must get them.
And Boris and Natasha dashed into an adjoining room full of 6-foot mice and began to wind them up. And so as the boys started out of the courtyard...
Uh-oh, Rock. We got company.
And I don't think he's gonna run down.
As the huge creature grabbed at him, Bullwinkle barely escaped, but Rocky wasn't so lucky.
Golly, he's got me cornered.
It looked bad for our hero, but Bullwinkle's flight had jogged a little more motion out of Herman the Vermin Exterminator, for he reached forward and completed springing the trap right in the mouse's tail.
Raskolnikov, squirrel has charmed life, Natasha. Why don't we have luck like that?
Maybe he has a good fairy, darling.
Good fairy, good fairy. Why is there never bad fairy?
Well, our boys made it to the back gate and were just a few steps from freedom when Rocky suddenly stopped short.
Pray tell, why are you stopping short, Rocky?
You ever try to stop long?
But we're almost there.
Bullwinkle, we're not running away.
We're not?
No.
Then how come I'm all out of breath?
Well, you go on if you want to, Bullwinkle, but I'm going back to Blinkley Mansion.
Okay, Rock, anything you say.
Gee, you're brave. brave, Bullwinkle.
Yeah, I bet I'm the bravest coward in these parts.
And peering out of his tower window, Boris could hardly believe his eyes.
Look, Natasha, the flies are coming back into the spider web, all by themselves. Oh, Natasha, maybe there is bad fairy after all.
Well, is there? We'll find out next time in Big Cheese Boris, or I'd Rather Be Rat.
And now it's time for...
Time for the dancing fool, Bullwinkle.
Again?
Do-doodly-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
And now for one of our special fairy tales.
Yeah.
Long, long, long ago, in 1888, which may not seem long to you unless you were born then, there was a young lad named Jack. Jack had come to the big city to try out for a baseball team, the Boston Beavers. The Beavers were a great team managed by that legendary figure, Big Lip Leo.
Men, we really got a great ball club here.
Yeah!
There's only one little thing keeps us from being a top team in the country.
What's that, sir?
We've never won a game.
True. In 10 years of competition, the Beavers had never won a single game. But then, Jack joined the team. He had an ace up his sleeve that very well could revolutionize the game of baseball.
Yeah, these magic beans. They'll make me the greatest baseball player in the whole world. At least, I think they will.
Jack was soon to find out, for the following day found Jack's team playing their first game of the season against the Poughkeepsie Pirates. Thanks to some quick thinking in the grandstand, the Beavers led 4-3 in the ninth. If the next man could be struck out, it would be all over and the game would be theirs. Jack was in center field, tensely awaiting the next move. The next Pirate stepped up to the plate. There came the pitch and... Oh, my, he connected beautifully.
There goes the old bull game.
But that's when Jack sprang into action. He quickly pulled out one of his magic beans, planted it, watered it, and then jumped on top of it. There was a rumble, a roar, and before everyone's startled eyes, Jack was carried skyward on a huge beanstalk that grew straight up into the air, and he caught the ball.
You're out!
The fans went wild. The game was over, and the Boston Beavers had finally won a game. Big Lip Leo changed the name of the team to the Boston Beans. And in the weeks that followed, they went on to win game after game with the help of Jack and his magic beans. Jack was now the most valuable member on the team.
Jack, my boy, sweetheart, you are a cotton-picking jewel.
I know.
And he became very famous. Then came the big day for the final game of the season, and they were to play the Giants.
They're gonna be mighty tough to beat, boy.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, but we can do it, kid. All you gotta do is stay on the bean.
The game was on, and it was a fight to the finish right from the start. The Giants were smashing ball after ball high over center field, but Jack always managed to zoom up on his beanstalk and catch them on the fly.
You're out!
The Boston Beans played as they had never played before. The scores shot higher and higher until the last half of the ninth inning, it was even up, 66-66. The Giants had the bases loaded. A home run could win them the game.
Now listen, you guys. You gotta do something about that wise guy out there with the beans, and I got a plan. Now, here's what we do. Whitey, you take the first.
Oh, Jack knew that they were up to something, but he had a magic bean already in his hand and was ready for anything. Then the Giants made their move. They sent Whitey Goober, the biggest hitter on the Giants team, up to bat. A gasp fell over the stadium. Gasp! The fans knew that if Mighty Whitey ever connected with the ball, it would go a mile. Jack knew this, too. And just to make sure, he took out an extra bean. Whitey stepped up to the plate. The ball was pitched.
Strike one!
Jack, getting more and more nervous by the minute, decided to use 3 beans and play it real safe. The ball was pitched again.
Strike two!
This was it. The next ball would tell the tale. Whitey was certain to swing at the next ball, and Jack, not willing to take any chances at this point, took out a whole handful of beans. Silence hung over the park like a cloud. The pitcher went into his windup and pitched the ball. Jack, not waiting until the last minute, went into action. He planted the beans, hopped on top, and shot up into the sky on the biggest beanstalk of all at tremendous speed. But Mighty Whitey, instead of slamming into the ball, he just gave it a dainty tap, and it dribbled out into the center field. Of course, Jack was much too high to do anything about it.
I goofed!
The Boston beans were cooked. The game was over, and the Giants won 70-66. Well, there was no joy in the clubhouse that night. And what happened to Jack? Well, that big beanstalk carried him straight up into the sky for hundreds of miles until it finally poked through a strange cloud where Jack saw a huge castle.
Fee-fi-fo-fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman.
Fee-fi-fo-fum. You know, I had a feeling we'd get around to this sooner or later.
That's a pretty strange-looking painting, Bullwinkle.
I just paint what I see.
Well, what do you see?
This is what I see. Hello, Culture Gang. Today's poem is that epic of time travel, Hickory, Dickory, Dock. You're sure you know your part now?
Sure.
Okay. Hickory, Dickory, Dock, the mouse ran up the clock. Very good. The clock struck 1, then down he run. Down he run. Hey, that's your cue.
No, the clock didn't strike 1.
I don't care, you're supposed to run down.
In my script, it's the clock that runs down.
You come on out of there, I'm coming in to get you.
Just try it.
Okay, with all the dag, flatted blag stagging. No!
There. You'll be all right in a week or so.
Why don't you pick on somebody your own size?
Now, just what caused the accident, Mr. Moose?
Well, obviously, it was Hickory Dickory. Doc?
And now it's time
for 5 or 6 baritone solos in the key of E.
But
Now
for another of our special features.
Should have tried E flat.
Peabody here with another serving of instant history.
The Wayback Machine's all warmed up, Mr. Peabody.
Excellent, Chairman. Then we're off to a town named St. Joseph, Missouri. The year is 1860, and the historical event is the start of the Pony Express. In the twinkling of an eye, the Wayback had deposited us inside the Pony Express office. We arrived in the middle of a hot debate.
Now, look, you claim you'll deliver mail to Sacramento, right?
Right, but
Then deliver my message.
what you're asking is impossible.
Either you're going to deliver it or I'm going to sue you for false advertising.
Why can't you deliver his message, mister?
'Cause he writ it on a boulder, that's why.
Dear Fargo, we'll soon have the business assigned Wells. But offhand, sir, I'd say that boulder weighs at least half a ton.
Yep, and getting it to Sacramento's gonna be a problem.
Decidedly so. The strongest horse in the stable was saddled, and the boulder, with much effort, was lashed to a rider's back.
Think you can manage it, Charlie?
I'll sure give it a try, boss.
Charlie did try. He urged his valiant steed forward. The horse took one step, and the Pony Express stable had a new seller.
Isn't there anything you can do to help them, Mr. Peabody?
Of course there is, Sherman. Sir, get me 1 stick of dynamite. 5 minutes later, the express office shook with a resounding explosion.
That boulder down there is nothing but a mess of pebbles.
Exactly. Now, all you have to do is transport the pebbles to Sacramento and then reassemble them into the boulder again.
What a brilliant idea.
Yes, isn't it? That afternoon, 50 Pony Express riders, each carrying a pebble, set out for California. However, 1 pebble still remained.
It's this one with a period on it. We're plumb out of riders, and the message won't be complete without a period.
And that is how Sherman and I found ourselves in the employ of the Pony Express. What we didn't know was that a tribe of Cherokee Indians was in the employ of Mr. Wells.
Indian chief see 'em riders down there? Me want 'em them ambushed. Indian understand?
Sure, we understand. You want those two guys knocked off.
Right. Me pay 'em heap big wampum.
Oh, knock off that wampum, Jazz. What we want is cash. Cold, hard cash.
Sherman and I entered Intercepted Pass, which was the only route to Sacramento. The perfect spot for an ambush was where the pass came to its narrowest point.
What Injun got 'em in sack? Rocks?
No, these are Charlie Barnett records.
Cherokee?
Yeah, crazy, huh? You really dig? Well, what I'm going to do now is dump 'em over the cliff and bury those two alive.
It was a diabolical plan, and it would have succeeded, except that Intercepted Pass was infested with downdrafts and upwinds. The records were poured out, but instead of cascading down, were caught by the winds and sent sailing up.
Look up there, Mr. Peabody. What is it?
That, Sherman, is the big disc jockey show in the sky. We navigated the pass without further incident and stopped at a small creek to water our horse.
Now what Injun do?
This time we're taking no chances. See these?
Tiny arrows.
They're not arrows. They're 33 1/3 long playing needles dipped in poison. That'll stop those two for sure.
Did you hear that, Sherman?
I sure did. What is it, Mr. Peabody?
Indians with long playing needles, Sherman. I'd know that sound anywhere. Quick, pretend we're going to take a nap. Well, my boy, I think 40 winks would be appropriate.
And how, Mr. Peabody? I'm tired.
We got out the blankets, but instead of sleeping beneath them, we bundled them up to look as though we were beneath them. And after crawling off into the brush, we waited for the attack. It wasn't long in coming. Of course, Mr. Wells and the Indian chief were in for a disappointment.
I'll be darned. They tricked us.
Yeah, and what's more, look at those blankets. They're still alive.
You mean the needles didn't kill the blankets?
Right. I don't understand.
Maybe they weren't poisoned.
I dipped them myself.
Are you sure?
Positive. Taste one.
It all right.
After dark, Sherman and I retrieved our horse and continued our journey. 2 weeks later in Sacramento, our pebble was added to the boulder.
This is a proud day for us. The mail got through, and now let's celebrate.
We'd like to, sir, but Sherman and I have another job to do.
Another job?
Yeah, Sherman, I was just handed this onion with a message on it. I promised we'd see that it got to Chicago.
But gee, Mr. Peabody.
Now, Sherman, we assisted the Pony Express. The least we can do is to help Western Onion.
Well, it seems that our heroes are leaping from the frying pan into the fire, for they are actually returning to Bleakley Mansion, hideout of the dreadful 6-foot metal munching mechanical mice.
Duty's calling us, Bullwinkle.
I'm a little hard of hearing myself.
High on the roof, the big cheese, alias Boris Badenoff, had already spotted them.
Let's give them old-fashioned Badenoff welcome.
How's that, darling?
We throw flowers.
Throw flowers?
Still in pots, of course.
And the scurvy sneak hurled a large urn down at our friends. Fortunately, the quick-witted squirrel saw it coming.
Bullwinkle. There's a great big flower pot coming down right at your head.
You're a fast thinker, Rock, but you're kind of a slow talker.
However, since the flower pot had struck Bullwinkle squarely on the head, little damage had been done.
I don't know. That pot's never going to be the same again.
In a moment, our heroes found themselves in the kitchen of Bleakley Mansion.
Now to plan our attack, Bullwinkle.
Attack? How are we going to attack a 6-foot mouse that bites through metal?
Well, it looked as if our boys might have the chance to find out, for in the room above them, Boris and Natasha were busy winding up a whole platoon of the monsters.
Got control set, Natasha?
Yes, darling.
Okay, you little nippers, go get them.
And the mechanical mice moved toward the kitchen door. Inside, our heroes were still thinking frantically.
Bullwinkle, we gotta come up with an answer.
I got one.
What is it, Bullwinkle?
Vienna, Austria in 1758.
That's the answer?
Yes.
What's the question?
I don't know. Sure is a keen answer, though.
Not to our problem, it's not.
Oh, that.
How do you beat a metal munching mechanical mouse?
Easy. I'll just take this iron poker, and I'll walk right up to all of them, and I'll...
You what?
I'll pull back an iron stump.
Close the door, Bullwinkle.
And the moose slammed the kitchen door on the intruder and braced himself against it.
Those monsters will eat anything.
That's it, Bullwinkle. They'll eat anything.
You notice kind of the echo in here?
I'm gonna cook up something special.
Rocky, if you flipped your goggles, they're gonna come busting through that door any minute.
Don't worry, we'll be ready.
And Rocky set to work in the kitchen while Bullwinkle held the door against the attack of the ravenous mechanical mice.
Hurry, Rock, they're munching right through the doors.
Hold on, Bullwinkle. The caramels are almost cool.
Caramels?
They're for the mice.
I always knew you were good-hearted, Rock, but this is ridiculous.
Okay, Bullwinkle, stand aside.
As Bullwinkle stepped back, the 6-foot mice poured into the room. Quickly, Rocky gathered up an armful of caramels, and as the mice crashed after him, began to toss them back at his pursuers, who snapped at them furiously.
Oh, my plan is working.
Yes, the plan had worked. After crunching down on those chewy caramels, the huge mice could no longer open their mouths to bite anything. Powerless to attack our friends, they beat a hasty retreat.
They're going, Bullwinkle. Now let's find out where they came from. What's the matter, Bullwinkle? Cat got your tongue?
Not cat. Caramel.
Boy, this is sure gonna cut down on the dialogue.
In a room not far away, Boris and Natasha were inspecting the mice.
They're ruined, Natasha.
They can't bite anybody, Boris.
Bite? They couldn't even gum anybody.
We will have to overhaul them, darling.
Tot, honey bun. Plenty more where this came from.
You mean?
Yes, look there.
Sure enough, far above the house was a... Well, good heavens, that's a spaceship.
You were expecting maybe seagulls?
But what...
It's time to go now.
But...
Anyway, be with us next time for the Space Rat.
Or of Mice and Menace.
Yes, you do that.
Well, it looks as if our time has just about run out.
Mine must be a little slow.
You got the credits, Bullwinkle?
All on this itty-bitty card. Oop.
We're late again, Bullwinkle.
Right.
Bye now. See you next time.